everyone, and welcome back to another video. Today we'll be continuing our topic of following the AQA German history sort of specification, and we'll be looking at the economy of Germany from 1871 to 1913. So immediately following the unification of Germany in 1871, Germany received reparations from France, same as how Germany would be paying reparations, at the end of World War One. And that was quite a boost naturally to the German economy. They received mass reparations. They also in 1871 introduced a currency reform, just to further unify the country, standardized the currency, and it made it easier for businesses to get credit. And in fact, the currency was quite strong. And from 1871 to 1873, the economy grew at an annual rate of 5%, which is incredible considering that, in later periods, the German economic miracle was operating at 8%, then, 4%. So this is clearly sort of a mini economic miracle between these years. However, from 1873 to 1896, there was quite a large recession in the market. And at the time, it was considered, the Great Depression before, the 1929 Wall Street crash happened. Um, and now let's look a bit sort of deeper. That's the wider impact, but let's look a bit deeper. So from 1871 to 1880, agriculture makes up 35 to 40% of gross national product, which I'll call GNP from now on. And industry only makes up 30 to 35%. But by 1914, there's been a massive and radical change that, now agriculture is only worth 25% GNP and industry is worth 45%. There is this very massive change. And between 1871 and 1914, Germany's industrial growth tripled. And that's because Germany has quite a lot of, advantages. They've got coal and steel reserves. They've got, rivers to transport goods on. They've got very good banks that are free from state control. They've even got the Alsace-Lorraine region, which, they've taken from France in the Franco-Prussian War. And also they've got the Rhineland as well. So they've got lots of natural geography. And they've also got huge amounts of potash and other sort of industrial requirements. As well, they've got the cartel system. Now, cartels were essentially a group of industrialists who would come up and determine the price of things and make, the industrial line smoother. And it did mean that prices were more expensive, but it meant that making things was easier. Companies weren't trying to undercut each other. And in many ways, it did make the market less competitive and did have issues, but it also worked in quite a lot of ways. And in 1875, there were only 8 cartels, but by 1911, there were 600. The economy, as we know, has lots of tariffs put on it on outside things, so grain, that type of stuff, and that also massively helps the German economy. But Germany had this second industrial revolution, and it's all thanks to new industries, and these are things like electrics and also motor cars, which are just starting to come about. Now, by 1913, the railway system length was 63,000 kilometers. This is massive. This, it's gone up by around 20,000 from 1871. And their merchant navy was 3 times the size of that of the US merchant navy, which again, we must remind ourselves that, the US wasn't the industrial powerhouse we know it to be. And in fact, Germany's merchant navy was only 1/4 the size of Britain's at this period. But agriculture is still playing a big role. And by 1907, only 35% of the population is in agriculture, which is massive considering it's way bigger than Britain, it's way bigger than most nations. But the thing is the main reason is due to the protective tariffs. The entire German agriculture system is propped up by these tariffs, which really prevent foreign food to come in because it's just so expensive to export it to Germany. And that is kind of this artificial prop that doesn't help the agricultural system in Germany, as it kind of means that without tariffs they're scuppered. But the main thing is by 1913, Germany is a leading economy. By 1913, Germany controls half the world's trade in electrical goods. But the other issue is they're facing a balance of payments of crisis. By 1913, they're importing 526 million worth of goods. But they're only exporting 495, so they're importing more than they're exporting by 1913. However, there is money made from the invisibles, and that is essentially foreign investment. They're receiving 1,000 million in foreign investment. So the economy is very strong because foreign investors see the German economy and they see it as a sign of strength. And it's very similar, if you will, to the Dawes Plan and sort of Germany and Weimar, but obviously it wasn't as vulnerable at that period because the German economy was actually standing on its feet pretty well. But the problem was the German economy just was not that strong if you think about it in terms of having tariffs. Now, tariffs were the main issue because they're essentially this protective crutch. And that is why tariffs were so fought over. You see, the Liberals wanted free trade because it would have had economic impacts at the start, but it would have actually made the German economy stronger long term. And their new industries would have still made mass amounts of money. But the Conservatives want to have tariffs because of the main reason is it would protect them. Junkers don't want to have a free market because it will mean that the prices of their wheat will go down. They're going to be flooded by imported US grain and Russian grain. They already are importing mass amounts of it anyway, which would essentially just mean that their prices would be valueless. And essentially farming would be wiped out. And we're already seeing mass urbanization at this period as well. More people want to work in the industry sector because it provides more stable jobs. And that is something we will go over in the society. But overall, that is a quick overview of the German economy at this period. Thank you for watching.